It is a disaster for the people.
Itu menyebabkan kami punya rumah pun kebanjiran, sawah padi kami pun rusak. Isu ini dalam 1 tahun kami tidak akan nelayan.
Bukannya bandar besar nih pun, perkampungan aja nih, kawasan kampung. Kok tidak perlulah mau besar sangat ke jalan, kalau mau menyusahkan lagi penduduk yang ada di situ kan.
They're only interested with money. Is it benefited or it will destroy the whole heritage, destroy everything?
Kalau betul mau juga menaik taraf tuh jalan raya kan, naik taraf juga lah penduduknya.
It is a disaster for the people.
Itu menyebabkan kami punya rumah pun kebanjiran, sawah padi kami pun rusak. Isu ini dalam 1 tahun kami tidak akan nelayan.
Bukannya bandar besar nih pun, perkampungan aja nih, kawasan kampung. Kok tidak perlulah mau besar sangat ke jalan, kalau mau menyusahkan lagi penduduk yang ada di situ kan.
They're only interested with money. Is it benefited or it will destroy the whole heritage, destroy everything?
Kalau betul mau juga menaik taraf tuh jalan raya kan, naik taraf juga lah penduduknya.
It is a disaster for the people.
Itu menyebabkan kami punya rumah pun kebanjiran, sawah padi kami pun rusak. Isu ini dalam 1 tahun kami tidak akan nelayan.
Bukannya bandar besar nih pun, perkampungan aja nih, kawasan kampung. Kok tidak perlulah mau besar sangat ke jalan, kalau mau menyusahkan lagi penduduk yang ada di situ kan.
They're only interested with money. Is it benefited or it will destroy the whole heritage and destroy everything?
Kalau betul mau juga menaik taraf tuh jalan raya kan, naik taraf juga lah penduduknya.
It is a disaster for the people.
Itu menyebabkan kami punya rumah pun kebanjiran, sawah padi kami pun rusak. Isu ini dalam 1 tahun kami tidak akan nelayan.
Bukannya bandar besar nih pun perkampungan aja nih, kawasan kampung. Kau tidak perlulah mau besar sangat ke jalan. Kalau mau menyusahkan lagi penduduk yang ada di situ kan.
They're only interested with money. Is it benefited or it will destroy the whole heritage and destroy everything?
Kalau betul mau juga menaik taraf tuh jalan raya kan, naik taraf juga lah penduduknya.
Narshikin, your mic, you got unmute.
All right, so good afternoon. Hello, everyone, to our distinguished guests, partners, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It is my pleasure to be the MC for today's webinar dialogue and competition entitled Envisioning Green Infrastructure Development for a Sustainable Future, Youth Forum. And I am Shikin, I'm from UCSF. I'm so looking forward to today's event lineup. Today is the last day of the Youth Forum, so we'll announce the winner of the competition today. So hopefully everybody will stay until the end. So before we start, I'd like to give a little background. Since Monday, we have had the presentations of the participants according to the themes that they have chosen. So along with the discussions with the panelists. So today we will get to hear some more feedback from all of them. So without further delay, we'll start off the event with a video screening. This is a documentary, a collaborative film between LEAP and several local community makers from all over Sabah. So these group filmmakers were located in Papar, Kudat, Telupid, Ranau, Kinabatangan, and Kalabakan. The documentary is a showcase of insights from those who are currently being affected by the Pan-Borneo Highway once it's completed. So enough with the chatter, let's start watching. Over to you, Yan.
Negara Malaysia ya bantu negara luar tuh bukan alang-alang, beribu-ribu boleh bantu, kenapa kami nih?
Ada yang belum dapat pempasan, belum pun dapat notis, sudah tanah dia pergi radu.
When they give the bantuan, half dikurang ke bantuan. If you ask them, they get angry. Kami punya minyak kereta antara macam.
It's really sad that a genetically unique population may end up going really fast because their natural areas are being taken away from them.
Jadi antara aktiviti ekonomi di Kampung Batu Putih ini adalah pertanian, nelayan dan pelancongan lah. Kewujudan Penbun ini ada pro dan kontranya, ada kebaikan dan ada keburukannya juga. Memang memberi manfaat kepada rakyat lah pada keseluruhannya, karena rangkaian jalan raya yang sudah dinaik taraf, jadi dia memang memberi keselesaan kepada penduduk lah. Sebahagian kawasan ini adalah hutan simpan kerajaan dan itu memang sudah warisan kita menjaga hutan simpan ini, karena hutan simpan ini telah memberikan impak yang besar kepada khususnya masyarakat Mukim Batu Putih dengan wujudnya sektor pelancongan lah di kampung ini. Majoriti penduduk Mukim Batu Putih inilah khususnya bergantung kepada sawit. Kemungkinan pihak Penbun ini, syarikat Penbun ini akan menggunakan tanah-tanah yang bergerak ini dan menjejaskan penduduk kampung lah, terutama sekali kebun karena musnah. Tempo masa pelaksanaan itu kita jangkakan memang mengambil masa bertahun-tahun. Jalan-jalan utama yang asal ini bagi cadangan saya perlu dibaik pulih lagi. Pasal kalau kita di Sabah ini, kita boleh lihat kemalangan itu bukan akibat daripada kereta sama kereta bertembung, adalah akibat daripada jalan rusak. Jadi ini sudah dialami bertahun-tahun. Semenjak kerajaan dulu-dulu lagi pun memang begitulah, tiada penyelesaian.
Pembinaan Pen Borneo ini akan melalui beberapa hutan simpan, akan melalui beberapa kawasan mangrove dan juga beberapa anak sungai. Memang dari aspek environment, ya, tidak dapat dinafikan pembinaan Pen Borneo ini akan memberi kesan lah. Sekiranya Pen Borneo melalui hutan simpan, dia akan memberi kesan kepada habitat, terutamanya akses kepada pemburuan lah, akan memberi peluang kepada pemburu hara, penebangan hutan secara ilegal, contohnya gajah dan sebagainya. Begitu juga orang hutan, ya. Jadi mungkin akan menjejaskan lah. Dari segi ekonominya, ya, kalau laluan lebih mudah dan cepat, kemudahan lebih baik, sudah tentu dia akan meningkatkan perkhidmatan pengangkutan. Pelancong di Sabah ini kita sudah menunggu, ya, satu highway yang dapat memberi kemudahan kepada masyarakat secara keseluruhannya lah. Pembangunan akan dibina, ya, lebih banyak kawasan akan dibuka dan infrastruktur akan banyak majulah dibuka di seluruh Sabah ini.
Bersyukur juga lah air hujan membantu kami dalam musim ini. Jadi kami rasa terkilan juga sebab ada tanah sawah kami yang kami tidak terbuat lah sejak pembinaan Pan Borneo. Kalbet yang dibina oleh Pan Borneo bermasalah dan tenggelam. Jadi tanah kami terbiar yang di sebelah yang 70 ekar itu sudah 5 tahun kami tidak bikin sebab dia punya air tidak kering. Baru-baru ini kami yang banjir, tanah-tanah yang diorang bikin benteng itu yang menghalang saliran air itu lambat. Banjir itu menyebabkan kami punya rumah pun kebanjiran, sawah padi kami pun rusak. Isu ini kami bawa juga pergi mana-mana, jadi adalah dalam dua musim dalam 1 tahun kami tidak akan nelayan.
That is the only land they have. And some of those people yang staying also in a place nearby the road there are all those who they call it squatters actually. But they have the electricity and the water also. That means actually they are allowed to stay there. If they move, they will be paid properly lah. at the end, they will not ask what have been promised to be paid because of they have go through all this professional criminal, they ask to sign the power of attorney and so on just to get the money. When something is happening and then they go to the Pan Borneo office, but those people dia bilang ini kami engineer, dia bilang kami tahu kenapa kamu pergi tanya-tanya ini barang ini sudah approve, inilah kami membuat. The contractor sometimes, one of the contractor, they just finish the job and they just disappear. Those people working under the Wakil Rakyat, when they gave the bantuan, half dikurang the bantuan. If you ask them, they get angry. They say, kami punya minyak kereta antara apa macam. To be very frank, it doesn't benefit the whole rakyat, the entire people. It make people suffer. They don't compensate properly the whole heritage of the land, the whole entire village and all the family also scattered. It is a disaster for the people. These contractors, they're only interested with money they get. It's better to have a public transportation more proper rather than you build this highway. A country like European country, the only highway who are really passing those city that one, the highway, isn't it? They have never go to the entire in the middle of the city.
Kalau Pan Borneo itu diteruskan juga untuk dibina di land asal ini, ia juga mengganggu untuk keluarga kami, community yang di sini. Sebab rumah yang kena tulak itu tidak lagi tapak tanah dibina dan dia akan mencari tempat lain. Jadi itu pun mengganggu perhubungan, menjauh, memisah dari sanak saudara, bahkan jiran.
Rumah ini macam kami ini macam kira baru juga lah. Jadi terpindah kami di sini pasal itu yang ada projek tu, yang Pan Borneo tu. Jadi akur lah pasal masih mau dirubuh. Jadi kita macam rakyat ini tidak juga boleh menghalang balik projek kerajaan ini. Ceritanya memang ada susah sikit juga lah. Pasal yang kami tahu yang kami ini tidak dibayar. Dikasih kami notis. Setiap kasih notis, kasih melekat 14 hari saya itu tempuhnya. Di mana kamu lari 14 hari? Di situ kau membuka, di situ kau kemas barang 14 hari. Jadi macam bingung lah. Sebab kami ini tinggal di tanah kerajaan Rodosyaw. Jadi saya berusaha menulis memimpin masyarakat kampung, termasuk itu parlimen pun saya jumpa pasal masalah itu. Keluarlah peruntukan itu. Tapi ada juga yang tidak terbayar. Ramai lagi yang belum berbayar tu. Kita punya tempat lagi. Jadi macam seolah-olah anda beri kemanusiaan kah? Pasal kami ni didakwa ni.
Dulu masih kecil lagi memang di sini sudah. Sampailah sekarang 30 tahun. Kita disuruh keluarkan dari rumah ni tanpa ada dibagi pempasan ataupun dan penempatan baru lah. Asal dia panggilan mahkamah kami naik lah. Tapi tiada apa-apa macam bantuan kita dapat lah macam untuk selesaikan kita punya masalah. Pandailah dorong potong lah itu karena tiada notis. Angkat air, tiap-tiap hari angkat air. Anak pulang dari sekolah, tiada dapat rehat buka baju, angkat air lagi untuk stok air kami. Saya punya anak adik sehari itu sampai demam tuh malam. Ketakutan kan gara-gara panas, gelap sampai demam tuh, demam panas malam. Teriak dia ketakutan, sebab gelap. Masa hari itu kes kami viral, ya ada datang lah. Tempo 1 minggu lagi dibagi, lepas itu diroboh. Tiada guna juga 1 minggu kamu bagi kalau tiada juga tempat kamu bagi kami. Tiada guna. Biarpun 1 minggu 1 bulan tetap kami di sini juga. Setahu terus terang. Ketua kampung ada datang, YB ada datang. Lepas itu janji dia cakap lah mau tolong. Tapi sampai sekarang tiada lagi nampak macam yang boleh dicakap sudah mula lah, dah. Lepas itu janji kami lampu air mau pasang, tolong kami pasangkan sementara tiada. Kayak bukannya tiada juga pergerakan, orang sangka kami dapat notis gitu diam-diam syakan. Anda dah bah, kami berjalan juga, kami gerak pergi jumpa YB yang sepatutnya. Sebab itu bilangnya hari itu kami tahu kau punya masalah ini yang boleh tolong YB. Jumpa YB, minta tolong apa? Dah macam tiada guna lah. Sampailah kami dirubuh. Tiada penyelesaian. Kalau boleh tolonglah kami ni warga negara sini. Luar negara laju pula mau tolong. Kenapa kalau kami ini rakyatnya susah pula. Mau tolong pun setengah mati macam susah betul lah. Dia tulis dalam notis tuh perobohan struktur-struktur haram. Ini rumah kami ini struktur haram. Padahal kalau dipikir struktur haram, kenapa dari dulu kau tidak boleh jumpa kami bagi tahu kamu tidak boleh buat sini ini? Kenapa kami apply lampu air tidak cakap tidak boleh? Biar orang dera kami mati pun dalam rumah nih, matilah. Mau pergi mana? Takkan kayak mau pergi duduk di pondok kah, di tepi-tepi jalan kalau ada anak begitu. Sama juga kau pergi mati. Bukannya bandar besar nih pun, perkampungan jaman nih, kawasan kampung. Kau tidak perlulah mau besar sangat tuh jalan. Kau kasih bagus tuh jalan, kasih oke sih jalan tuh sudah cukup lah. Bukannya sesak sangat pun jalan di sini. Bolehkah juga itu dikasih bagus cepat? Saya tengok jalan kawasan sini nih, kalau sudah rosak berlubang-lubang, tunggu tuh berapa tahun tuh baru boleh kasih bagus. Tengok yang di bagian Batu 24 itu yang runtuh tuh. Nah, berapa lama sudah tuh tidak pernah tuh bagus kan sampai sekarang. Yang tengok tuh bukit-bukit tuh yang dulu macam kau tengok kiranya sejuk lagi mata menang boleh kau rasa sejuk-sejuk, sekarang sudah habis kena tebang semua itu bukit-bukit semua, jadi sudah kau nampak sudah batu-batu.
Proyek Pan Borneo ini memang kami sangat bersetuju. Apa yang kami maklum sebelum ini pun memang Pan Borneo ini dia tidak akan langgar tapak kami. Alhamdulillah kalau jembatan itu akan wujud, kami para penduduk yang mata pencarian dia sebagai nelayan, contoh dia kan, senang-senang untuk seberang ke seberang.
Pasal Pan Borneo kami dengar daripada orang ke orang je lah. Orang ke orang yang bagi tahu Pan Borneo ni akan melalui dari kampung kami sini. Kalau bagi kami anak muda, memang kami sokong pembangunan. Sebab bila ada jalan raya macam ni, lagi dekat kami pergi sesuatu kampung atau suatu tempat, apabila jalan raya tu atau jembatan tu sudah siap, so kami punya sumber pendapatan atau laut kami semua terkacau. Jadi semua tu kami tidak solution untuk tu, kami pun tidak apa yang mau buat. Kami berharap sama kerajaan untuk handle benda ni semua, apa yang dia boleh. Contoh macam rumah kami roboh, dia akan bagi kami pampasan dan sedia kami tempat atau rumah baru.
Tempat saya berdiri ini adalah tapak sebuah rumah yang sederhana besar dulu. Karena dia affected dengan Pan Borneo, terpaksa aku dengan kerajaan untuk dirobohkan, untuk pindah. Karena ini adalah dibuat jalan raya. Rumah ini akan diroboh. Ada sudah satu sini sudah dirobohkan. Dan semua di sini, di kawasan ini, akan dijadikan jalan raya Pan Borneo. Ada nih saudara kami yang sini ini yang jiran juga. Dia sebenarnya merayu untuk tambahan value pampasan untuk tanah dan rumahnya. Hampir 1 tahun dia tidak mendapat balasan balik sama ada diterima atau tidak. Kami mendapat surat pampasan itu macam tidak memadai lah. Dalam mengikut penilaian dia orang tidak nilai yang macam mana harga sekarang dan gaji untuk buat rumah itu. Ada yang belum dapat pampasan, belum pun dapat notis, sudah tanah dia pergi dalam radu. Jadi itu yang bikin dia orang marah. Kadang-kadang dia orang pergi halang itu kontraktor. So kontraktor yang datang terus pergi kasih bersih kawasan itu tanah, terkejut banyak orang kampung. Jadi itulah prosedur macam tidak berapa betul, tidak mengikut saluran, tidak bagi tahu dengan betul.
Sekiranya laluan Pan Borneo ini dibuat di laluan asal di kawasan Pekan Perpet ini, saya rasa banyak kesan sampingan yang berlaku, terutamanya mereka yang ada di siring-siring jalan. Sebab kalau sudah highway ini, di 4 laluan akan lebih besar dan kesan dia memang ada kepada peniaga-peniaga kecil lah, terutamanya yang tepi-tepi jalan. Dan juga pilihan kedua sekiranya mereka buat di bagian Tawai kita tahu sana merupakan hutan simpan dan pernah satu kali merupakan ada satu kejadian di mana banyak gajah yang melalui tempat-tempat itu. Jadi kita juga tahu sana itu hutan simpan, lepas itu orang bilang tadahan air, binatang-binatang yang terancam akan terganggu atau akan mendapat akibat dia.
Kesan PEN Borneo ini ke atas ekologi dalam hutan simpan itu sangat terjejaslah. Keadaan hidupan di dalam hutan tersebut akan menjadi kucar kacir. Lebuh Raya PEN Borneo ini melalui kawasan Tawai, hidupan liar itu akan masuk ke kawasan komuniti ataupun masuk ke kawasan penempatan manusia dan akan mengganggu tanaman-tanaman yang ditanam oleh komuniti.
My name is Mary. I'm working as an assistant wetland manager based in Sulaman Wetland Sanctuary. Sulaman Wetland Sanctuary is a class 5 mangrove forest reserve. It's a beautiful place and it's a home to many. Our main objectives are to protect and conserve this beautiful mangrove area. We are also responsible to provide this employment opportunity to the local. The potential impact if PEN Borneo Highway were to be built close or in the reserves are destruction of habitats, forest fragmentations, potential animal roadkill, introduction of non-native species of plant, and it may also lead to a natural disaster to happen such as forest fire and soil erosion. I hope that we can continue to treasure our mangroves. We have already failed to maintain the existing road. Why don't we take the budget allocated to maintain the road? The number of mangrove population is declining every year. If we lost mangroves, we lost what's in it. We might only realize it when we catch the last mangrove crabs. So please, treasure our mangroves.
Nama saya Amazia Siza Moria Jumail. Saya sekarang bekerja dengan Danau Girang Field Center sebagai research officer. Bila bercakap tentang PAN Borneo, sebagai local community, it's unavoidable bila community maukan development. Tetapi sebagai seorang researcher juga ataupun yang terlibat dengan sains, saya sendiri melihat bahawa projek ini dia ada impact kepada ekologi atau kepada kita punya ekosistem. Kita harus mencari jalan di tengah di mana kita boleh memberi benefits kepada community, tetapi juga kita mengurangkan impact terhadap kita punya wildlife dan terhadap kita punya alam sekitar. Kawasan yang ada proboscis monkeys contohnya, ramai yang terlibat di dalam pekerjaan di dalam sektor ekoturism di tempat-tempat tersebut. Jadi apabila kita potong dorang punya habitat, and then kita akan tahu dorang punya populasi mungkin akan berkurangan. So ini juga akan memberi impact kepada community sebab mereka boleh kehilangan kerja. Apa yang saya harapkan adalah kita kena ada kerjasama di antara orang yang buat sains ini dengan government yang akan buat highway ini. Sebab kita tahu banyak mangroves juga terpotong because these mangroves also they act as macam nursery ground for juvenile fish, bukan saja primates tapi banyak lagi jenis spesies yang akan terganggu. So saya rasa lebih bagus perbaiki jalan sedia ada daripada memotong lebih banyak lagi habitat-habitat hidupan liar yang ada di Sabah.
My name is Milena Salgado Lin. I work for Danakyang Hill Center as scientific advisor, and I coordinate a few projects for research in Danakyang. Proboscis monkeys have been classified as endangered because of human-made changes to the landscape. With the Pan-Borneo Highway crossing through the mangroves, what is happening is that proboscis monkeys will stay isolated in even smaller pockets where there is going to be cars and trucks and a lot of influx going in and out, and sound and lights. It's just the proboscis monkeys are going to avoid completely that place where they may be less resources. They will have to compete a lot for those resources. They will, if they don't move out of those pocketed areas, they will deplete those resources faster. It's really sad that a genetically unique population may end up going really fast because their natural areas are being taken away from them.
Kalau boleh, jalan-jalan yang sedia ada ini perlu tambah baiklah, dinaik taraf.
Kalau boleh kita mau supaya pembangunan tu diseimbangkan juga dengan environment ya.
Jadi saya harap dia akan menepatilah apa yang dia orang ucap lah.
Is in the future, this kind of project, they must well inform and see the need of the people.
Jadi harapan kita sebelum membuat satu proyek harus diteliti di peringkat kampung.
Kalau betul mau juga menaik taraf negeri Sabah nih kan, naik taraf juga lah penduduknya. Jangan cek jalannya, tapi penduduknya, rumah-rumahnya kesian dibuang, dikasih begitu saja, macam yang tidak ada guna.
All right, thanks for the video. So let's move on to the dialogue session with the panelists. So I'd like to remind to our panelists to please turn on your video during the discussion, yeah? Before that, allow me to introduce our moderator for today. This person needs no further introduction. She is the FS Chief Executive Facilitator, Ms. Cynthia Ong. Over to you, Ms. Cynthia.
Thank you, Shikin. Good afternoon, everyone. It's our last day. I'm super excited about today. I think we have lots of exciting things that's going to happen, we hope. So as I said, it's our final day. It's the culmination of the Youth Forum series that you've all been a part of, called Envisioning Green Infrastructure Development for a Sustainable Future. So this was co-created by Forever Sabah Institute and Forever Sabah, as well as UCSF. So I remember when we first met with UCSF, seems like forever ago now. And I think it was love at first sight for us on the Forever Sabah side. We saw a very young faculty. We saw very dynamic leadership with Dr. Halim and Professor June. And we were just so moved by how passionate they were, how enthusiastic they were, just about all the things that we were talking about. A little bit about Forever Sabah is we're working towards a transition to what we call a diversified, equitable, circular economy. So shifting away from the linear extractive economy that we're currently on, and towards this vision of a circular economy. So Forever Sabah Institute is about all of that becoming a learning space for young people, for women, for the older generation, for kids, whoever really wants to learn in a practical way. I remember in the first meeting with UCSF, Dr. Halim and I were excited about some things, including what's called the quadruple helix. So some of you who were in the session yesterday heard about it. So what is that? Let me just unpack it a little bit for you. So way back when, there was government, and then there's private sector, because you always need business. And so between government and private sector, everything is supposed to be solved. And then they say, well, no, we're not solving everything here. We need to bring in academia. And so that became the triple helix. And academia meant the people with the knowledge, experts with the knowledge. But then it was found that even this was not solving everything. And the quadruple helix came in, and that's about bringing in the dimension of culture, sort of a culture-based and media-based public and civil society. I think we in Forever Sabah see that young people are the bridge between academia and that culture and media-based public. And these are the reasons why we decided to embark on this public forum series with UCSF. It's about bringing the voices of the youth into the discourse. And in this case, it's about infrastructure development, really creating a space, where democracy is being more direct and being more dialogic and distributed. So you've heard 3 topics over the 3 days, 11 groups of students. The first was philosophical and conceptual dimensions, where there were 2 groups. And then imagining and envisioning the emerging future, there were 4 groups. Evidence-based design, there were 5 groups. And 12 panelists. So again, going back to what I was talking about earlier, we wanted to make sure there was government, private sector, academia, as well as civil society. A very distinguished panel of panelists. How's that? So let me introduce them, and please come on when, well, you will come on, you're already there, but turn your videos on. So in alphabetical order, in all very illustrious and ambidextrous and all those things. Starting with Mr. Anton Ngui. And the next one is Dato Daryl Weber. Come on up. Dr. Halim from UCSF. IR Dr. James Young. Miss Janet Go.
Hi.
Miss Jennifer Lingi. Dr. Rafiq Shavji, all the way from Kenya.
Hi.
And architect Rizal Ahmad Banjar.
Hello, everybody.
Architect Haji Shariman bin Abdullah. IR Tan Kok Ji. Tuan Vitalis Moduing. And last but very much not least, Ms. Yi Lan.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. So let's just have fun. Just think about this as you know, have you heard jazz? You've seen jazz performances or listened to them at least. Just imagine this is jazz and we're playing together, riffing off of each other. So you've heard all the presentations. You've seen what's in the minds of these young people. I offered some concepts and some themes early on about the quadruple helix, etc. So I think let's start with development. We're talking about infrastructure development. Let's talk about development, education, and knowledge, and democracy. So development, education, and knowledge, and democracy. What is the opportunity? I know that it's a bit abstract, but I know that some of you would live off of this question. And I think I'm going to invite, just to get us going, again, putting you on the spot, Ilan.
Why me first?
I know you love this topic.
To me, everything is about people sharing a stage and a platform. It's about celebrating a place, where you come from, and all the complexity that encompasses, but it's located in a place. So everything, be it, what was it again? Development, education, opportunity, and something else.
Development, education, and knowledge and democracy.
Knowledge.
What is the opportunity?
The opportunity is to share. The opportunity is to envisage something, locate it, and make it unique to your place, which will therefore inspire another place. So I always think when you embrace your local, we are not so unique that somebody else can't learn for you. But when we embrace the local, it is multi-tiered. It embraces all the diversity of a local, and it has meaning to that local, and it is owned by that local, and therefore it will work for that local. So to me, that's a fundamental motivation, is to understand the local, to be located, but within that be visionary and new and inventive for yourself. Yeah. Is that all right?
What is all right? Everything is all right.
Yeah. don't follow other trends. Be a trendsetter, you know? Yeah.
Thank you, Ilan. You can always trust the artist to take us out there. And then I'm going to call on. I'm going to call on another artist. Who was that? Was that you, Rafiq?
Yes.
I was going to call on you anyway. Please, while we have you.
Well, I just wanted to say I appreciate the comments that Ilan gave about being local, but at the same time being innovative in such a way that it becomes a kind of an exemplar of how things could happen elsewhere.
Yes.
So I wanted to focus on your word opportunity. What I noticed, and please forgive me, I unfortunately couldn't attend all the sessions, but what I noticed from the basic problem that is faced by this highway is that you're actually, what is happening is that something very vital to modernity is cutting through a very, very important landscape. And understanding this importance of this landscape that it is cutting through, it requires learning several languages. So we know the language of the engineer, which is quite important in the sense that they need to get things done. They need to meet targets of distance and cost and materials and so on and so forth. But what is very obvious is that we need other languages to somehow feed into this language in such a way that the engineers can have a reasonable dialogue with the other languages, using the other languages. I'll give you a very simple example. The video that started this whole conference, I remember right at the beginning, showed what Americans call roadkill. These are creatures that have been hit by vehicles. Now let's speak about language. What language do these creatures use? Their language is one of migration, what we call migration paths. They have their own paths, and many creatures use different migration paths. And a road is an incision, and therefore, what can the engineer have to listen to in order to understand these other roads? These are roads for animals, for example. It's just one small example, but very important one. It's very big in Africa, as you know, and we had a railway new railway built from the coastal city to the capital city, which is inland. And we had to go over very crucial wildlife migratory paths. And previously, they were completely ignored. And Nairobi, as you might know, has one of the most amazing features of any capital city. It has its own national park with lions and wildebeest and so on. But it's now been turned into a zoo, a very glorified zoo, because the migratory paths have been cut off. Now, how do you apply these languages? So there's the language of feasibility, of studying, and there are some practical things that are very obvious that need to be followed. You need to inform people before demolishing, before moving. You need to compensate. These are very obvious, practical, what we call accountable things. But there are more subtle things that need to be looked at. What are the migratory paths of the animals that cross? How does the migration how is the road affecting the migration and therefore their habitat and their capacity to maintain the biodiversity of this amazing, amazing jungle that is partly, I assume, wild, partly cultivated or mainly cultivated. And there's some relationship between the humans and the animals. What is that relationship? Because how can you measure? You see, you can't measure a road just by looking at the number of cars and vehicles that cross it and get from here to there. A road is also an incision. It also stops other roads. So how do you measure the price of this road? It is not something that is impossible to express. So what the university seems to be have a wonderful opportunity is to develop a vocabulary of this language in which we listen to the roads, as it were, of nature, the paths of nature, and how cutting an incision through these paths can affect the longer term wildlife. For example, there's also the listening that everyone needs to do. There's the listening of the needs of the local population. There is a listening that's required, that, listening to nature, knowing the impact on birds, on animals, and so on, the impact on birdsong and its effect on the environment and our own well-being when we can hear birds. There is a listening of the inner life, where you need to listen to the fact that your body is made of earth, the way the rest of earth is made. It is made of elements that were formed in the death of stars billions of years ago. So we are connected. We're not living in nature. We are nature. Human beings, our bodies are, our spirits are different maybe, but we are definitely part of nature. So what is that listening? It's the listening of the singularity of existence, that we all are part of one thing. And Muslims used to call it Wahdatul Wujud. It's the unity of all existence. It's a very deep concept. We need to listen to that. How do we listen to that? How can we translate that into something a little more practical, or at least that the technical people can grasp and begin to employ in their assessment of what is real and what is not, what is important and what is not. And that's a wonderful opportunity. This university seems ready to sink their teeth into these complex issues. And I'm so glad that this whole seminar or whatever webinar is focusing on these larger questions. And I think, again, I repeat what Ilan said, this is a wonderful opportunity to apply whatever concepts, whatever practical methods you do to other places, other situations in your country and elsewhere.
Thank you, Rafiq. That was a saxophone solo there.
May I add something on what Dr. Rafiq said?
Sure, of course. Jump in.
Thank you very much. I agree that we begin first with knowledge. And how do we get knowledge? Through education. So once we are educated, we must be given democracy so we could participate, because the end product is how to develop so that we will be part and parcel of that development. Unfortunately, sometimes in this process of education and so forth, something is missing. We are not empowered. And as a result, we cannot participate, or we are not allowed to participate. Okay. Now, when we want to participate also, let me share a bit of how we look at green in university. So we decide knowledge, we must have knowledge. So we decide to ask, what is green? how do we conceive green? So we came up with our own concept of green. Yeah, among others, we show it is natural, it's interconnected, it's interdependent, and so forth. Yeah, and then we also have what we call a value system. So we have our green philosophy. In the green philosophy, we decided to move away from a human-centric or anthropocentric to an ecocentric worldview, where we take cognizance of the inherent value of every entity and species in our ecosystem. So we look at the ecosystem or nature as our teacher, where we learn from the ecosystem what is this meaning of the inherent value and how they play their role in ensuring that the ecosystem is a perfect whole. You see, we human beings came late in this scenario, and I think we should not think we are the one who dictate into the system. You see, I always ask, what added value do we give to nature when we arrive in this world? So if we want to build a road or anything like that, how minimum at least, we do not disturb what is there already. Of course, the bigger challenge would be what added value human beings give to nature. Okay? For example, if you want to measure, let's measure carbon emission. What was there before the road? What happened if we build the road? And what happens when the road is used? A simple analysis will tell us whether we are contributing to the good of nature, or as we say, let's do it first, like the Kuznets environmental talk show. Do it first. When we reach a certain GDP and so forth, then we will mitigate our mistakes. I think that's not the way we should do. So that's why in our university, we articulate first what is green, what is the philosophy, because the philosophy gives the worldview and the language, and how we harmonize ourselves with nature. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Halim. So I think we've heard a little bit from our mystics and artists and philosophers. Let's hear from our empirical guys who like to measure things and calculate things, our architects and our engineers. Let's hear your voices. Let's hear your language. Please jump in.
I think might as well I start first. Hello, everybody. Okay, so basically, as an architect is actually a combination of art and science. So when we started out, when I started my architectural studies, actually we are all into art actually, because the science aspect of it is basically how to actually construct it according to something that is practical and feasible. So actually it's a combination of both. So basically either architect, engineers, planners, all of us are actually part and parcel in planning a development. So when we talk about development, definitely there must be some sort of a guideline or an approach of how to come up with a very good and beneficial development to everybody actually. So when we talk about green environment and things like that, it's good to have some sort of guidelines. So there are, if you ask me, there are two types of guidelines. One is basically set by the government, the policy, and another one is a concept or a direction adopted by the private sectors. So I'm sure all of you have heard of Green Building Index, the GBI. So that has been around for, I think, quite a few years in Malaysia. So just a little bit of background of GBI. Green Building Index actually came about because the designers, the architects, the engineers, we are to the opinion that Malaysia must have their own green planning. So we started out with Green Building Index. There are actually others like LEEDs and things like that. So when we started out, it's more of concerning about energy, how to conserve energy and how to utilize it as effectively as possible. Now, after that, it grows into something bigger than before. It's not as much as constrained as before, but now it has become like when you design something, it can be up to the extent of a new township. So when the new township, it's good to have some sort of green consideration. It's no more like limited to just having a water tank, rainwater harvesting tank, and all those things. Actually, it's beyond that. So by having a concept, a guideline like Green Building Index, town planning concept, then when we design something, then we are taking into consideration the immediate environment of whatever development that we are doing at that place. So that is one of the things that we can use as a reference when we design or plan. So I leave the Pen Borneo thing issue because one of my colleagues is actually directly involved. I think all the engineers are directly involved in Pen Borneo. So I think they have a good say in that. But on my part, as an architect, I'm talking about planning in general. So basically, just for information that we are moving towards green design, green development. So because when we design, it's good to have some sort of concept or guideline. So we are pushing the Green Building Index as the basis of when we design something, then we know. Because you know that when we say it's green, so what actually is green? As mentioned by Dr. Mohamad just now. So how do you quantify green? So as designers and planners, we use objective empirical measurement to show that to a certain extent, this is the energy usage, this is the carbon footprint and things like that. So when people ask, so this is the thing that we have done. But apart from that, in terms of very abstract design, subjective design, like what I've seen in the video just now, that is concerning the community and the human aspect of it. So that requires involvement of all actually, not only the designers, but also the policymakers, even the people on the ground, even the contractors. I have to say, because we are involved with contractors almost every day in our life. So we know how the characters of the contractors. So nevertheless, at the end of the day, it involves all of us in terms of what are the guidelines, the concept. I think it's there, but it is actually up to us whether we want to adopt it, either policymakers all the way to the people working on the ground. I think, yep. Maybe I'll pass it to the engineer.
Thank you, Rizal. Any engineers want to take it up? Remember, this is jazz, yeah?
Yes, just a quick one. When you mentioned about jazz, I'm also involved in the KK Jazz Festival. So just a quick one, all this pandemic thing, I think we have to wait a little longer for the KK Jazz to happen again.
Thank you. Okay, we have a couple of engineers. We have Dr. James, we've got Tan Kok Ji, we've got a town planner, Janet. Any one of you want to jump in? Talking about development, education and knowledge and democracy, etc., etc. Just, and if you're anyone else, private sector, Anton, civil society, Daryl, government, we have Tuan Vitalis, we have Jennifer. Just completely jump in whenever you want.
Okay, may I interject here? Hello, Shariman here. I think my colleague, chairman of the Pen Sabah chapter, spoken about being involved in the design, planning. Yeah. But I would like to go into more of...
Sorry, can I interrupt 1 second, please? Can you speak closer to the mic? I can't hear you well.
Yeah. Okay, can you hear me? Is it okay? Right. Yeah.
Much better. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, let me begin with probably I just talk more about human being. Yeah, I think we here rather than on development and then on government and then knowledge, democracy. It's very wide, yeah, to talk this, but we can always go into more of education when we start with the university, even at the primary level. When we go for study biology at secondary, this has actually have to be taught from the early years for our younger generation, yeah, so that they are aware of human and nature. We are interrelated. These are very important. But again, here, as I see, what I feel that we have to create a biophilic space. That means that, nature, plants, and must integrate with our buildings rather than just talking about green, but it is the whole system. There is this whole system. If we don't have that whole system, then we just cannot survive on just bits and pieces of a topic or subject. For instance, like the Pan Borneo, it's just one of it. But again, if we have a policy that it has to be done correctly, yeah, which we have to consider nature, yeah, nature, and of course the community, yeah. Good example, I think, is Italy. Yeah, they have done very well, I think, to me, on the we call it the highway. So they don't actually excavate or any hills, or cut any hills. They go by tunnels or by bridges. Yeah. So it was a wonderful plan. But they have a wonderful plan because they feel for nature and the community. I think good example is also from Italy to France, the new road, and it was designed by an architect. Yeah, sorry, yeah, engineers, and look at it, wonderful. They just try to avoid all this. Yeah, they have considered about nature and the community. Wonderful design highway. Yeah, and in this case, talking about just now, I think Dr. Halima said about this eco-centric place. Yeah, from here, that's why we have to actually improve the human being, yeah, their life, and also not only that, to somehow care for all life. Yeah, care for all life. That is very important. But we must have the policy from the government. So development, government from early. If we don't have it, we can talk and talk and talk. No way. There's no way we can resolve this problem of human nature. There's always a barrier there. If we don't have this education from the early part of our life. Thank you for the moment. Later I will continue.
Thank you, Haji Shariman. So anyone else from the panel? We've got some hybrids between architecture and art. Jennifer, we've got, yes?
I say something?
Yes, please, Jen.
Hi. Just to add something about green building index. Actually, we are now looking more on the carbon index, because green building index could be, once you've done it, it's done it, But when you look at circular economy and all that kind of things, you're looking more into the your carbon footprint as to everything else matters. What are the things that has to be the impact assessment of everything thing that you do. So in the bigger picture, when we're looking at building a highway, we are looking also at the circular impact. So the ecosystem, like someone was mentioning earlier on. And so it's not looking at it in a silo approach. No doubt we recognize that if we realign the road somewhere, it's going to impact another person. So whichever way you do it, it's going to affect somebody. And back onto the video that we saw earlier on about this lady that says that, you know, just create a small road. But in order for us to actually progress for Sabah, you know, we have been talking about this Pan Borneo since independence. That is that long ago. The inception, the concept was started from there. It's only in 2012 that construction actually started. And we're not due to complete till 2025, but I'm not too sure now. Yeah. So really, it is a long time coming. And of course, while all this planning and all this dreaming, all this fund chasing and grants and all this is happening over these years, 50 years, settlement crop up, people looking for land to live in, and, you know, township grow and all kinds of things. So at the end of the day, we have to connect somewhere, somehow, in order to create that connectivity for the future generation. And I think more important now in the conversation of Pan Borneo is about mitigation, about alternative livelihood for people who are affected. Yes, being able to actually have a body to advocate for them, for the compensation they received, and also providing them alternative earning life potentials, all these things, you know, because these are more of like looking into the future. We can't just sit down and cry, all right, the road is crossing, you know, we can't deny the fact that it is impacting quite a lot of people. And because of the pure fact that we do not have a bigger budget to create fresh new roads. So this Pan Borneo is actually using an old road, widening it. And so that is why you have settlements along the road. And that's why they're affected, yeah? So if we have got a big budget that cut through fresh road, we wouldn't have all these problems. So really, how are we going to actually sit down together, put our brains together and intelligence to work it through with the government and says, look, you know, certain areas, some of these, you know, it doesn't need to be monetary compensation. A lot of this time, why are they not asking for alternative land that the government can give back and things like this, you know, and rather than actually crying over the budget, the money that is being compensated is not enough to build another house. Of course, you know, land value goes up all the time. Whatever you're given, you know, is subjective, because I may think that, you know, I'm living in $1 million house in a hut, yeah. So it will never be enough for anyone. But like for like compensation, this is something that, you know, I'm quite keen to see happen, so that the planners, the government, and all this can actually look at how to create proper settlements with proper infrastructure and services to facilitate, to enable these people to participate in the growth of Sabah. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Janet. Any others, or shall we move on? Anyone want to chime in?
Can I say something?
Sure. Yes, please.
Just a quick one. I think this my 2 cents is our greatest infrastructure needs of our country are the people. So I think before we talk about, you know, big highways and roads and all this development and man-made infrastructure, I think that if money was pumped back into giving everybody more access to knowledge and know-how and experiences and all that, we would have a more balanced society in terms of growth and just well-being. And I think you know, we have access to all sorts of information now with the internet. It's an amazing thing. Once upon a time, you had to read everything through a book, but with the internet, anybody, I mean, even a person from a quite poor background has access to information that's happening elsewhere in another corner of the world. Why are we still doing things, repeating mistakes that other countries have made? Why are we looking at failures of other countries and replicating them here in our own country? You know, we can see what is flying elsewhere, we can see what has collapsed elsewhere, but we are trying to reinvent the same wheel. I think we are far better than that, far smarter than that as a human species, and I think we are more than capable of learning from other people's mistakes and their successes. So if we pumped all our resources into our people, we will be doing very well. And perhaps when we have all this access, we would not be thinking just about our individual survival. I think that is the problem of a consumerist society, a materialistic society, is everybody is out for themselves because nobody is going to help you, or that perception that nobody's going to help you. But if we were all given a fair say and stake in our society and our environment, maybe we can give back to each other and yeah, we think about other things, how our development would benefit each other, our neighbors, our family, people around us, instead of just building for the sake of building, just building for the sake of the money. Yep, that's my 2 cents.
Can I jump in on that?
Go ahead, Jennifer. I think you muted yourself, Jennifer.
You're muted.
Oh, sorry. Okay. I'm just picking up from what Anton is saying. The subject, the whole subject of this thing is as complex, as complicated as the title itself. Every time somebody asks me, what's your youth forum? I can't say it because it's so complicated, the title, yeah? I think what I remembered from this was I remembered at the day one, Dr. Rafiq or Dr. Halim mentioning about indigenous wisdom. And I love that word because I think that is what we have to remember. Sometimes a solution is not necessarily something that is forward. You should be looking back at what we've done, with our ancestors have done before. And I think it's very important, even if we know new technology, we should still be looking at the wisdom of our people here in this land, because every different country, every different land have got different wisdom. I'm actually involved in an exhibition next year in Geneva, and the title of the exhibition is Climate Crisis, Indigenous Alternatives. You see, even now we're still looking back at indigenous alternative. The problem is sometimes indigenous conjures up. People always think it's something very romantic. When they mention indigenous people, you think it's somebody up in the, living up on a hill, worshiping the sun, you know, that kind of thing. And then, so I always say, don't romanticize indigenous, because I'm an indigenous person. I have a professional qualification. I live in the city. I have a religion. So you can use indigenous wisdom, as I said, either Professor Rafiq or Prof. Halim mentioned, and I love that. I would like to see our education system, as architect Shariman rightly said, it has to start from there. I don't know whether a lot of what I learned from school, you know, primary school, how many, 6 years? Secondary, 5 years, 6 years. If you go on to do A levels, 12 years. Think about it. How many of all the 12 years that you've learned, you've actually used in your life now? Not a lot for me, really. Maybe math a little bit. I can calculate things, but generally not really. So we have to, I think, rethink our education system for people to be more aware of nature and community, because that's not mentioned a lot. A lot of those sort of things are always used as a side subject, you know, and not the main subject. Lastly, I just want to remind the students and congratulate them for attacking, like I said, such a complex subject. And you guys are amazing. What the students have done is truly amazing, and even double amazing throughout this COVID period, where you guys can't talk easily, and all your research was done separately, all alone in your little room, you know. So well done to all of you. All I'm saying to you is, it's a really complex subject, and we all can talk on forever and ever. It's a wonderful subject to talk about. I think it's a great thing that we have this discussion. But each one of you, especially for the young, the ones who've done all this work, make sure you don't just finish this and then close your book and then carry on doing things that you do every day without being very conscious about. Because I've seen people talk about green, cleaning the planet. Next thing, they open their cigarette packet and then they throw the cigarette wrapping on the ground. Within seconds of just start talking about green environment, and then they just throw plastic on the ground. So it's as simple as that. For all of you, the young people who've done so much work, don't be intimidated by all these things that we'll be talking about, because it's a complex subject. All you do is what you can do every day. What are you doing with your water? When you go out of the house, are you throwing your rubbish properly? Forget about trying to save the world. Save your house first. Save, you know, what you're doing in your room. Look at what you're reading on the computer. What are you teaching yourself? Are you doing things to encourage yourself, to give yourself more knowledge as to how to save community and all that, all right? Yeah, that's from me.
Thanks,
Alex,
Jennifer.
can I just add on that? Yeah, Jennifer, I think you're right. Yeah. Well, we architects, I think, have started even way back in 1970s when we look into vernacular architecture. Yeah, vernacular architecture, we look into buildings not designed by architects. You know, how they consider the site, and then you know, I think their faith, yeah, they have their faith, yeah, how to locate, where to orientate the buildings, no, not even to disturb the landscape. These are the ways that we have actually looked into, and not only that, we architects also, I think, this movement was actually against international movement, where they have modern design with glass and steel. Yeah, so these are where we should look into back again, as I said, indigenous. And now I think Vietnam, Indonesia, even Philippines look into it. They are really harmonized with nature. And Sabah actually has a beautiful environment to actually follow suit. Yes, this is thing. Why should we go for 24 hours air condition? You know, where we have the ventilation, cross ventilation. This is what we should have done, but no, we haven't done that yet. And then later on, there's promotion on the ecology. We call it, ecological architecture. Again, this is probably against the corporate, oil and gas, coal, everything, the forest has been destroyed. And then now I think presently we're talking about biophilic architecture, the space which we combine plants, water, together with our buildings. Yeah, we're not going to do any more standalone building. Although some standalone building, they get the green index. Yeah, and as long as they have safe energy, they get the certificate. This is, I think, again, a wrong concept, totally. Yeah, and now we're talking about, as the doctor just now mentioned, so biocentric, with the community, again, together with the community, like unlike what we have, we have seen just now, the people have been ignored. Yeah, We just couldn't care less, yeah. And then starting with the ecological space. Maybe I would like also to introduce like eco-puncture, eco-puncture, akin to acupuncture, where you have a needle to go into our body, get into the system, trigger the positive, in us, to create, to restore the whole thing. That's, I think, another way that we should look into it in architecture. So I thank you. I may go on again regarding the students later on. Thank you.
Cynthia, can I just add a bit for Jennifer's comment?
Okay, last comments.
Yeah, just to share a bit what we do in UCSF, we have a course called Introduction to Green Concept and Philosophy. And I happen to be the first lecturer. So I begin the lecture with an intriguing conversation. Every morning when we get up and we see someone, we say, how are you? So I tell my student, why don't you get up every morning and ask the question, how are you, Mother Earth? And I said, the answer will be, I'm not very well. And then this is to tell them, even though the concept we are discussing going to be complex, but as a person, if you start asking this basic question every morning, you will begin to say, how can I as a person make a difference? How do I shower? What do I do every hour? And I think that is a greening process that begins from you. And when it is combined as a group, the effect would be bigger. Just a little addition. Thank you.
Thanks, Cynthia. Dr. Daryl wanted to say something.
Daryl, go for it. Last bit and then
I want to say something. I think I was scratching my nose, but anyway, since I got the mic.
You don't want to say it?
No, I can say something. I was thinking about it, but I don't know whether it was so much use. But I would say this, based on the discussions I've heard, there are a few things. The opportunity for me is advocacy. I'm going to make a very generalized, blunt statement. Governments always lag when it comes to innovation, always. I've never seen government lead innovation. And innovation usually comes fastest from the private sector, faster even if it's the private sector in tune with the general population, right? So, all the greatest innovations took off because they fulfill the need in the general population. So I hear what people say, government needs better policy, we need better education. I have issues with the term expecting education to deliver action. Education, the most educated countries and the most educated people on the planet are climate denialists. So I'm not such a huge fan of education for action. I think education can bring some action, but not a lot of action. I think what is more powerful is eventually to push government in the right direction. Eventually government will get there. Eventually government will come up with the right policies. It's an issue of when. And to make them transition faster, I think the best way to do that would be a combination where the private sector joins forces with communities, local communities, advocating for change. I'm an engineer by training, but not by profession. I know that in the private sector, there are many people who think very far ahead on issues such as eco-development or green building or green development or sustainable development. Their view is far further and wider than what the government is thinking about. However, I rarely hear of strong advocating voices to government in a unified manner coming from the combined architects, engineers, and civil society, for example. And I think if you do that, if the private sector as a group does that, advocate for this kind of policy changes in a unified manner, together with, say, civil society or local communities, it actually makes life easier for government because they are not really taking a risk when they're introducing a policy. Because, you know, the people that they want to please, their voters, have already come to them offering them a solution. So they're not really taking a risk, and therefore they could make a innovative policy decision pretty fast. I've seen this happen in my experience many times. When industry comes together with civil society, changes happen very fast in government. Because the government says, well, if these two people who can come together on this issue and they provide a tangible solution, what's the risk for a politician like me? No risk. So they'll go forward. So anyway, that's just my thoughts. And I have other things to say about the presentations, but I guess that would come later. Thank you.
Cynthia, can I
Thanks,
bagi
Daryl.
komen?
Yes, perfect.
Yes,
I was going to call you. Ngam-ngam.
Okay, thank you. I thought si Daryl yang last tadi, Dato, but okay. I mean, it's quite interesting to hear. I mean, the various views, and I think the topic today or the forum was about envision green infrastructure development for sustainable future. So, and all the issues that been discussed or shared, and various views, and some of it, I think, apart from social, economic, and also it touch about environment. So, just to share with you all that in Sabah, actually, we are the first state in Malaysia that have formulated the Sabah State Policy on Environment. So actually, as you know, Sabah is quite leading on this matter. That okay, we have our own state policy and the policy was formulated with all the relevant stakeholders, including the NGOs and even the civil society. So, and I think end of last year we have also have formulated the action plan how to implement the policy. It's just that because of this COVID, that it was a little bit slow at the moment. But all these guides or the policy, already we have that one, and it will be reviewed from time to time. So and all the issues that concerns and how to improve to have a better managing our environment and towards a sustainable development in Sabah, more or less we have a guideline that we will improve. It doesn't mean that we are not, from the government side, we are not doing, having all this, all the issues are not been looked into. Okay, just for the other things, and I think I'd like to comment, maybe, I'm not sure whether there's a session for comments on the overall presentation by the youth, or this is the, I don't know, Cynthia.
You can, we have a moment later towards the end.
Oh, okay. So basically, yeah. So just sharing what is the government doing, and as you mentioned, for sustainable development, as you know, you're looking about the economic, social, and environment. And just for environment aspect, and as been shared by all these panelists or even the student, it's quite complex. There's many views, there's many stakeholders. Some are pro, some are cons on this one. So we need the, as mentioned before, the panelists, that we need the academic side support the decision makers to transform all the findings of the academics, and how to put that to assist in the planning, and to have a practical, and to put it in how you can use science in the decision making. So I think that's we, for our department, even our ministry, we are actually have been working with few university, locals and international, in doing that. I think some of you have maybe involved with the RE3, the Riparian Reserve project, because we know how big is Riparian Reserve, how to determine, because in books maybe it's very straightforward, but when you go to the ground, how do you determine Riparian Reserve? We have there are various there's our topography, the width of the rivers. So we have to put how to the finding of science in decision making. So this is just an example. So the initiated by LIP and this UCFS on this forum, I think very good. That I think we need the support from everybody, including the universities, academic, to assist in government so that we have an informed decision. So that's all. Thank you, Cynthia.
Tuan Vitalis, don't go away. You're very popular on the Q&A. So two questions to you. First one, the quadruple helix model of innovation recognizes 4 major factors in the innovation system: science, policy, industry, and society. In keeping with this model, more and more governments are prioritizing greater public involvement in innovation processes. I have heard about this model and looked it up and found that this is very innovative. I think that the government should adopt this model in planning for the infrastructure development for our state. What model is our government using currently? Does it involve the society, industries, and environmental NGOs? I did not put anybody up to this question. Would you like to answer it, Tuan Vitalis? I know it was quite long, so
Yeah,
they're
yes.
asking.
Thank
Okay.
you. Cynthia, I think the answer about this what was it, the new helix, the quadruple helix. So I think it's also the first time I saw it in the presentation yesterday, but I think it's a good issue, concept, because you are looking about more or less the 4 what we call components. I agree with you, and I think some of the presentation yesterday by the student, directly or indirectly, they did mention that it's good to integrate environment in the early project planning, and I think not only environment but also because some of if you look at the videos, some of the concerns or the issue was about the resettlement, the compensation, so all the social and economic matter. But I agree with you, and just to share with you, our department actually now actually doing a program or study that how do we integrate environment in the early project planning. So hopefully one of the aspect that we look into, we look at this concept and we will incorporate it. And during this exercise also, we will involve as many as stakeholders as we can. So that's my comments at the moment.
Okay, the second question to you, Tuan Vitalis, is how can the voice of the youth reach the decision makers in Sabah?
Okay, as I mentioned, youths part of our program. We involve youths in our activities or programs. Okay, in even like when we have few programs with communities, and in the communities, what we do, we look for champions. So usually some of the champions are youths. So actually, since last year, we have already went to at least 5 communities, 5 kampung, that we look into the environmental issues, and we develop environmental programs that is unique to that kampung or community. And all these activities are being championed or spearheaded by the community itself and spearheaded by youths. So I think that's another way that we're looking at it. And the other thing, we are also, in future, we are also looking at the concept of citizen science. So I think we are looking at it. So maybe Dato' Daryl boleh tolong ini. So we are hoping that we can explore this further, and so that we can, because we know the responsibility to protect a management is not only lies with the department or even the government, it's with everybody. So I think that's why we are creating tools, we're providing access to every stakeholders in giving their opinions or inputs in how to improve the environment in our area. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Tuan Vitalis.
Saya boleh tolong.
You were.
Thank you.
Kamu tolong? Oh, okay. Oh, you want to tolong? Oh, bagus. I'm brokering the partnerships here as well. Okay, so couple of questions for engineers, specifically Dr. James Yong. Your is a question.
Cynthia,
What?
may I may I say something on? Hello.
Sure. Okay, briefly.
Yeah.
Need to move on.
Okay, briefly.
Yeah.
I think to Dr. Daryl and also to Mr. Vitalizer, as a practicing architect for more than 30 years, our problem is always the budget or the government projects that we have to build fast and cheap. Then you have to understand that we cannot go further. The other one on environment, we don't have actually budget to do, environmental studies. This is the way I think the policymakers or two of you gentlemen must emphasize on this. The budget must be there. Yeah. If not, we cannot do anything. That is our problem now for 30 years, more than 30 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Haji Shariman. So the last couple of questions here to engineers. I'm not sure if Dr. James is still on, but maintenance of the Pan Borneo Highway will be a massive task. Who pays for the maintenance? Is the cost factored into the road budget or the state budget, and is it enough? So I saw somewhere that he's gone. Is he gone or is he still here? Can someone answer that? Tan Kok Ji or Janet, do you know the answer to this question? Okay, he had to leave for an emergency. Okay, sorry about that. I can't answer that question, but does anybody?
Excuse me, sorry, you were, because I was away a bit just now, you were talking about the maintenance for the Pan Borneo, is that the one?
Yes.
Yeah, I think normally for this kind of development, the maintenance will be part and parcel of the development. So upon completion, the contractor will have to maintain for certain years, maybe at least 1 or 2 years. So after the maintenance period has lapsed, then the government will have to take over and maintain it. That's the normal practice. So I believe it should be the same.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, can I just add? Yeah, it is like the original contractor will do the maintenance for a couple of years, and then they will then tender it out for concessionaire, just like some of the major roads here. Some of them has got 10 years, some of them got 15 years, 20 years to maintain, whether it is an urban road or different sectors of the roads. So they that's why you see all these little stations that they put their maintenance kit there to look after that road. That is the major contract that is supplied from the federal government. Thank you.
Thank you. So the other question to engineers is, there's a green building index, but is there a green road index applicable in Malaysia? Does anyone know the answer to this? A green road index. Janet, you know everything. Do you know the answer to this one?
Actually, okay, I try to jump in because our engineers friends somehow they are not in, but nevertheless, because road is part and parcel of a bigger development. So specifically, there is no, as far as I know, there's no green, so-called green consideration for road building. But in a bigger context, like for example, like green buildings, a new township, whatever that you design, it has to be balanced. So they have to take into other things into consideration, not specific to the road, but other parts of the development, just to balance out the holistic environmental consideration for the whole thing, actually.
Thank you very much for jumping in there. So we're in our final sort of 10-minute stretch, 12-minute stretch. I'm going to ask you a final question with regards to the students. So let's see. Sorry, I'm looking at my questions here. Looking at the other questions from the floor as well. See if we have enough time. So some time back, maybe last year, a millennial, you know who millennials are, right? They're sort of mid-20s to 30s. A millennial said to me, Cynthia, my generation really wishes your generation and older will just die off, because you're leaving things in a mess and it's not as if you're finding solutions for the mess. And that really struck me. I was quite taken aback at that opinion. And I thought, wow, perhaps young people actually think that. And so, you know, I've been actively sitting with that and saying, what needs to change here? If they don't, or maybe not all of them, some of them don't feel led by us, you know, the sort of older generations. Do we need to be looking at our relationship with younger people? Should we be changing that relationship? You know, have we sorted things out? Are we leaving things worse off than you know, when we first came in? Are we talking down to them? You've seen over the last 3 days the innovation, the good spirit, the enthusiasm, the hard work, despite everything, as Jennifer said, COVID, not being able to see each other, not being able to hunker down physically. They did all of this, every one of this, all the thinking, you know, all the planning, everything you've seen so far. And, you know, that's no small feat, I think. So maybe for a minute, each person, what uplifted you of what you saw? Just a minute, perhaps. What you heard and what you saw, what uplifted you?
Okay. Hello. Is that me you're pointing to?
You, hello. Is it me? Is it me? Yeah?
Anybody, go for it.
I think, yeah.
You don't have long, so just go.
I was very impressed with the students. They are not actually have architectural background, but they did their works, their proposal, the presentations, very professionally. Yeah, and I'm very impressed. They have done, you know, identify the problems, and then given tasks to each member of the team, and they've selected the topic very well on the team, yeah, except for one probably just out of the, you know, on our, I'm talking about the team too, yeah, on my team too, yeah, and I think one of the things I've even done design, yeah, to show that what the possibilities are, and there's a potential there. I think Sabahan have the potential if they are being given the opportunities. Yeah? So here we are probably the knowledge. You must acquire the knowledge and skills, yeah, other than just theory. Yeah? Very important, and for the future opportunities. Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Just come right one after the other. Go for it, others.
Okay. Okay. Rafiq here, just 2 minutes. Basically, I was very impressed. I only saw 2 presentations, so I won't speak long, but I was amazed at the sophistication, the courage the students showed in dealing with complex issues, and they were very systematic and very thoughtful. And it gave me a lot of hope on the practical side, I was just amazed at how the students in Sabah were trying hard to find a solution. And they did actually listen to the local population. Both really impressed me. Thank you.
So if I may, Cynthia, I was only there for the one day, which was yesterday. So I have no benefit of knowing what was presented the day before, unfortunately. I wish I did. I was, I go to a lot of events, I go to a lot of conferences, I speak at a lot of conferences. And I find that, people forget that if you want to influence someone, it's not always just about facts, right? It's about how you sell the idea. And I think people also forget that psychologically, we buy ideas, we buy things basically mostly out of emotions. 95% of the time is emotional buying of ideas, buying of products. So I was so impressed with two presentations, one in particular, that immediately started off the presentation. It had good ideas, sound ideas, but what was very impressive was it immediately sold the emotional, made a pitch to your emotional side of things, and then supported it with very clear facts and a very sound argument. So I thought it was such a fantastic presentation. In fact, I'm asking Winnie to give me a copy because I wanted to send to the rest of my colleagues around the world that this is how you pitch. This is how you sell ideas. I always say, if climate scientists had a little bit of marketing skills, we would have solved the climate crisis a long time ago. Unfortunately, they don't. And they showed the graphs and people didn't really connect with it. But so I was impressed with the skill, the presentation skills, the content. In two cases, it was very clear, very linked up. It showed maturity, I think, that I rarely see at that age group. And I am very impressed, I have to say. Thanks.
Cynthia, can Dato' Daryl reveal the two that he was impressed by?
Dato' Daryl?
Can I? Is it okay?
Dato' Daryl, can you reveal?
There was one on the solar one. I thought it was very amazing that I don't know. I really want a copy of that video, by the way. I think the solar one was very good because it started off with a very good story, a good narrative, which brought home a very clear point, right? That things. I think her mother or something, couldn't have electricity years ago, and now 42 years later, we still have a problem in Sabah. So that hits home to the crux of the matter, and then they broke it down into how you can solve the solar problem. Not everything, I have to say, of course, they're not experts on solar or renewable energy yet, but I would say it was a very sound argument, and the facts supported the emotional pitch, which is very important. If you don't have that, then it's just John Ubat lah, But if you have you can make the emotional pitch and support it with solid facts, it's very powerful. So I thought it was impressive. Then the other one I thought was a very interesting take on presenting what I thought would be very boring and very dry, which is how road development impacts soils and stuff like that. It was presented in a newscasting kind of way, which I thought was very nice. It grabbed my attention. I thought I would fall asleep if you were to give me a PowerPoint presentation. So my point here is, you may have all the facts, but if you don't package it right, nobody will listen to you. You may have Nobel Prize winning solutions, but if you don't sell it, if it doesn't penetrate the minds of your audience, it's useless. So I thought it was fantastic.
Okay, next. Thank you, Daryl. Others?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Just a quick comment. I think I agree very much with Daryl, purely because it really makes you sit up and listen, and it takes you back in time during, going back to my childhood, where there's a lot of, although I'm sort of like living in town by then. It's a lot of blackouts and things like this, and you sort of like going forward now 60 years on, and it's still the same. So it's a very good pitch in a way, because it takes you backwards, forwards, and then do a comparative and things like this. And so that where are we now, and how can we progress with all that knowledge and ability that we've got out there now, scientific evidence, you know, all the engineering products for all our renewable energy and things. How are we going to improve from where we are now? So yes, I do agree with Dr. Darryl on that. And overall, I'm very, like I said, you know, I wish I had joined the previous 2 days, but just think the amazing work that each student has put in. I like the way they use social media and how they mix it with cartoons, with filming and things like this, which make it more interesting. And I think, you know, the college has got a very good foundation in getting the students into this area of interest. And I look forward to more exciting projects coming from them. Thank you. Well done.
Thanks, Janet. We'll take you up on that. Others, come, let's jump in. It's the last few moments before we announce the winners.
Can I say something?
Oh, okay.
Yes, we want to hear from all of you. Last, what uplifted you? There's a
Halim,
question.
want to go first? Oh, okay. I think the wonderful thing was there were two aspects to the whole presentation. It was content and presentation. Whilst not all of them obviously were very, the actual content was maybe a little bit too sparse, but they made it up with presentation. So that's quite important too. Like the two, I remember the ones who had this topic on yesterday, butterfly and birds, wasn't it? And I like it that they went really that small and talked about that to actually talk about a bigger issue. And the way it's presented is amazing. You guys did a fantastic job with the animation side of the school, also did a good job. So for all the students, from me, if you don't remember anything about this whole forum, you might forget it again in 2 days' time. Perhaps the one thing I would like you to take from this is to be more conscious about living. Live more consciously, i.e., even down to what you're eating. Check, what are you eating? Where did it come from? Did it come from Australia, where it has to go on a ship and it has to go on a road? And then there's a lot of, pollution in the atmosphere because we're eating stuff that are imported from elsewhere. Little things like that. If you are more aware and you live more consciously, I think, Cynthia, then maybe the younger generation won't blame us for living the state that our land is in. I don't believe we did a very bad job. I grew up in a bamboo house, as I think I shared with all of you. I grew up in a bamboo house when I was little, up to, I think, at the age of 7. And even now, I've seen so much development, and I'm very thankful for all the technology that has given us what we have now. So I lost my train of thought there. Yeah, I don't know what I wanted to say there, but yeah, and so just know that life. I remember Professor Francis Wong, architect Francis Wong, once said to me, "Life is never a straight line." So that's how we have to be. We have to accept too that in trying to better our world, it's never a straight line. It's like a dance. You talk about jazz, this one is a dance. You know, tango, backwards, forward. The important thing is we all have the same ideals. And if we look towards that, I think we'll be all right. Yeah, thanks. Prof, you.
Next.
I would just like to give you a bit of the background of our students. Most of our students are from B40. And academically, we would usually call them the marginalized student because they could not enter the public universities. So you see the product of these students. And why I'm happy to be their teacher. That's all. Thank you.
I think well done, Dr. Alim.
Okay, yes. So other panelists who haven't yet given your 1 minute?
Anybody?
Rizal, right?
Yeah.
Tan Kok.
Okay, I think just a quick 1 minute. So as what I've been commented on the session that I've attended, I totally agree with Jennifer. The presentation was top-notch. So it was fantastic. The only thing that maybe the content, maybe the patient, the understanding of it might require a bit of a guide. Also, I think it was commented by Anton, maybe a bit of interaction with the industry players. Maybe the essence of it, the content of it can be more to the point, and then more towards what is actually affecting us as a Sabahan. But nevertheless, it was a great work by the students. Thanks.
Thank
Can
you.
I say something?
Yes, please, Ilan.
I watched all the presentations because I really enjoyed them. So I attended all. I love the sense of desire and passion to communicate and the storytelling aspects. That was something that where there was storytelling is where I could relate to it. I think this is also what Darryl was talking about. So I think that amongst the students, there's some really, really good storytellers. And in terms of the generational millennial aspect, I think that's a really great job to do, is to make people like Cynthia and ourselves feel uncomfortable. And I think when making your presentations, when developing the content for future projects, I would say be uncomfortable. Ask those difficult questions, and it's okay to be uncomfortable. Sometimes I think to say I am uncomfortable as part of your storytelling is a great achievement in itself. So I just want to say, be uncomfortable. And within that, there's a lot of drive. And the most important thing that I saw in the last few days I love was desire, passion, storytelling, communication. Communication skills are tabik hormat. Yeah, really excellent. So thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me to be part of this.
Thanks, Ilan. So we have Anton, Tan Kok Ji, and Tuan Vitalis. I think you have not done your 1 minute.
Yes, yes. Cynthia. Oh,
Tuan?
Okay. Yes. Okay.
Go ahead.
Yes, kejap saya, Anton. Yeah. Okay. As I mentioned yesterday, I think all the 5% was wonderful. I think on related to environmental issues, and that is related to the development. I think the student managed to identify the issues and what's the concern. But and some of them, they have even suggested some suggestion to improve the whatever the issue that been raised. But I would like to suggest that maybe as a student, to better know, to analyze an issue, it's also good to, if you maybe because of this pandemic they didn't have much time, but it's also to get views from much more sample of the other stakeholders, so that when you do analysis, then you get more better picture of the issues, and then easier for you to come up with solutions. Because usually when we have the feedback or the inputs is only at one side, then it's sometimes very difficult for us to look at the pictures in total, and difficult for us to come out with solutions. And some of the solutions are good. One of that really maybe I think it's good that about the Pan Borneo Highway, about the heavy metal that they said. Of course, this concept of using plants to absorb heavy metal. But it's good that because I think the student maybe didn't have much time to research further, but it's a concept that. But it's good that they put some kind of checklist or things that before this ideas can be promoted. There's few things that need to be looked into, because as a student you need to analyze this issue. I mean, like say what type of plants or that, and what is the rate that the plants can absorb. So because it will determine the retention of the pond, the water in the pond, how big is the size of the pond to build along the road, whether it's practical or not. So even though we don't have that information at the moment, but it's good to think and put that as a checklist that even this is an idea, but this thing need to be looked further, because as a student you need to think critically, so that because it's not simply just giving a suggestion, but for me it's good that you think and give more total analysis and think critically on the practical little bit. So it's good start. So that later on, I think when you sudah mula kerja, I think senang sudah lah. I mean, that's what my comment. Thank you.
Thank you. So we've got a final two, Anton and Mr. Tan.
Okay. Here, Tuan Vitalis, I think, expressed what I wanted to say. Reach out to people who are older, reach out to the younger ones as well, get a wide scope of the issues, and then I think you'll have a balanced solution on your table. I think it's great that this platform and other platforms out there have made you aware of issues, and that you'll continue to develop your outlook on these matters, because I think if we can all think a bit more critically about things and not just superficially, we will be moved to play a greater role, whatever future you take up, whether it's in media or actually in actual design or such. So keep up the good work. And personally, my door is open, or my email is open, not my door, maybe. My email is open if you need any input from what I am good at. Not that I'm good at everything, but some things I'm good at. You're welcome to drop me an email, and I'd love to give further feedback on your work. Thank you.
Mr. Tan, are you still there? We haven't heard your voice today. Okay, sorry, Mr. Tan has left the building. Okay, I think we're done. Thank you so much for the jam session. I think we made some kind of music, right? I don't know what it was like, but there was something generative there. Okay, so I think the moment that everyone's been waiting for, particularly the students, the prize giving. And just remember, I know it was a struggle for everyone to assess, the presentations, because they were all special in their unique ways. We have a public forum on the 10th of December, where we will invite government, again, private sector, civil society, the public, etc. And the three presentations will be brought there, along with other things. We also have another version of the film, and then we have results of various studies that were done on the Pan Borneo Highway issue that will be shared. So over to Nor Ashikin, who will, I believe, announce the winners. Thank you again, panelists.
Thank you, Cynthia, and thank you, panelists. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the moment of truth. It's time for the most weighted announcement. We are going to present the winners using this video. Take it away.
Here, as you can see, the water is not clean. The water color is brownish.
Breath of life is a breath of nature, connected as one with the nature around us.
Yay!
So it's time for the second theme. Second theme is imagining. The first one, the one that we watched was the philosophical conception, dimensions of infrastructure development. And this second one is theme number 2, imagining and envisioning the emerging future of infrastructure development, which will showcase their ideas of the environmental and socio-economic aspects. The announcement.
Because we're in the age of changing, why not start with these visions of the emerging future of infrastructure development?
We designed the roundabout to look different during the day and illuminate at night, and still can see the motifs of the serum.
A progressive action should be taken to save the biodiversity in Sabah, as we are blessed with many unique yet endemic species in our land.
So congratulations, Theme 2 winners. This third one, the third theme is evidence-based design of infrastructure development. They will look at facts and science as tools and resources to influence the decision-making. The announcement.
There is a pervasive interest in the socio-economic matters from the general public.
Magnesium dalam tanah telah menunjukkan kandungan tinggi di satu kawasan yang terjejas dan satu kawasan tidak terjejas. Kedua-dua merupakan
community inputs, ideas, and concerns, and empowerment training will ensure sustainable outcome. Through this community engagement, we can create an alternative governance systems and promote.
Congratulations, winners. So we are now at the, are we going to listen to the students' commentary first, or before we go on to the closing remarks? I think the tech team is still trying to contact them right now. I think the students are here somewhere.
Hello.
Hi, Johan.
Hello. Do I need to open my cam?
Yes, we would like to see the winners' faces.
All right, boys.
If
open
you're
your
proper,
cams.
if you're proper.
Oh, hold on.
All right.
Let's try it.
Hi.
Hi. Hello. Hello.
So could you tell us what you've won?
Yeah. Got first place in the conceptual groups.
Yay.
First of all, this is all a group effort, and we do have our own inside jokes regarding the whole conceptual thing. The thing is, because when we did the whole research, the whole presentation, and then we were clutching, literally clutching, because we were balancing the other assignments, the other classes, and then we were also speed running assignments, you know. And then we realized that, okay, those things are important, but let's just give our very best. And thus we name ourselves Team Clutch, Team Team Tidak Tidur.
But it's all worth it, right?
Yeah, it's worth it. Yeah, it's worth it. And I also like to thank my other members who stay up late at night with me, up until 5 a.m. giving ideas nonstop. And also, I don't know. I know it has to be serious, but like, I don't know what to say much. I just want to say that.
You must be elated. You must be on top of the clouds right now.
Well, not really. I mean, it's a team effort. I appreciate my team members, Aizat, Najib, and Catherine. Without them, we couldn't do this. And our guidance from our supervisors, our coordinators, Prof. Jun, I see you there. Dr. Farhana and Dr. Kantaya, for giving all those ideas, for blessing us with their knowledge and all that. And shout out to my car, because without my car, I couldn't record a very good audio. I mean, I'm sorry. I know it's so serious, but I really don't know what to say much.
All right.
I think my other team members can talk to if they want.
Congratulations, Johan.
Thank
so do we have any more students? Do we have any other students who are here? Tell us how you feel. You've worked so hard. I know some of you have come here and tried to go out of town and go out of your way to make sure that you really try to represent the whole university and also FSI Justice. If we could get one more. They must be jumping up and down right now. They must be so happy. Let's hear from Marlisa. This is Marlisa, second place for the conceptual and philosophy. Hold on, yeah. Yes, okay, so we're going to go theme by theme when we are presenting the winners, because we want to see all the winners' faces if we can. At least get a word out or two from them, right?
Seems like.
Are you there? All right. So,
Move on. I think we move on to
all
Dr.
right.
Halim.
Okay, so let's move on to the closing remarks, because we are at the end of the event already. We are coming to a close. So before we close, let's hear from Dr. Halim, our Vice Chancellor, University College Sabah Foundation, to deliver his closing remarks. Over to you, Dr. Halim.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Doctor.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much once again. To everyone, I don't like to do the normal formalities, datu and all these things. I just say to everyone, our comrades and participants, a very warm welcome as the Vice Chancellor of UCSF and also a participant in this youth forum. Yeah, I am very happy after a number of hiccups and challenges, yeah, because of the COVID, we finally are able to hold this forum under a very difficult situation. But somehow or other, our online engagement seems to be successful. And I hear many praises as to how our students who come from a very difficult situation in their life managed to overcome and came out well in their presentation, in their narratives and so forth. Yeah. This forum, I believe, is meant to create a platform, as always Puan Cynthia says, to voice the future aspiration of our youth, especially the Sabahan youth. Yeah, it is necessary that the youth do participate in determining what their future would be like. Yeah. During the 3 days, we have been engaged with various presentations on, in particular, greening the infrastructure. Maybe some of the views are idealistic, but most, I think, did give solutions which I believe are still exploratory in nature. And I hope, as many of the panelists had said, do continue, even if there is no sponsorship, but as a private project, because you believe that you can make a difference by continuing towards green. Yeah. We also hope that through this forum, we have planted a healthy seed towards greening back our state. Yeah, our state is well known for its green assets, but in the process of chasing development, we do make much mistakes. So let us hope that this seed that we have planted will grow, nurtured by us, and also given the proper guide, even though some millennials think that we made a bad mistake, but I still think in our Eastern culture, the old still have some wisdom to depart. And I hope the millennials will look upon us as people who have tried. Maybe we didn't do the best, but still, through those mistakes, we would like to tell you, please do not repeat, so that you will co-create a better future for yourself. And when you are old, the young ones do not come and tell you, well, you did a very bad job. Yeah, because all of us will pass through old age, and we would like to leave the world thinking we have done something useful. Yeah. I also like to say that this forum also to me is another beginning. We believe in the cyclic nature of nature itself. Yeah, we heard about circular economy and so forth. So in this cycle, let us look at this as another beginning. starting a journey going back to nature, which we tend to forget when we become fixated with progress and development. Sometimes in our rush to be an advanced state, we tend to follow models that looks beautiful right in front of us. And like Puan Jenny said, I too believe in co-creating our future. Let us look at the strength of our indigenous knowledge and wisdom. We must not all think that because we are urbanized and educated, the indigenous is primitive and could not contribute anything. That, I think, is a mistake. Yeah. And I hope our journey towards going back to nature is sustained, not only in terms of a strong spirit, but keeping up with new knowledge. Yeah. We heard just now, someone said that the Pan-Borneo was taught even before we become free from colonialism. But I always like to challenge myself, saying the model that was in front of us when we just came out of colonialism was a Western model that was very mechanistic. And I think we are basically trapped in that model. So to be creative and original, I think we should go back to our roots. And from there, we create ideas. So in that way, we keep our Eastern value of honoring those who have gone before us. Yeah? And not what we tend to do now, thinking the indigenous people have nothing much to contribute in our progress and development. In terms of knowledge, I am very happy to see that we are moving forward. And let me give something new. We have heard about the quadruple helix, but today we are talking about the quintuple helix. There's a fifth component now. And I think all of us agree that's the right component to be in, the environment. So let's take the new helix and progress. Yeah, I think I would like now to congratulate everyone, especially the winners, as well as those who didn't make it. Most important thing, I believe, is that you tried and contribute. Maybe there was not enough room to give prizes to all. But I think you won because you did capture the praise of many of the panelists. Yeah. So do not give up hope. Continue. Maybe in the next platform, in the next opportunity, you might be the winner. Yeah. And finally, thanks especially to Forever Sabah for being a strong sponsor, a strong motivator and partner in making this forum a reality. To all the panelists, I know you are very busy and for the time you give to listen to my students, who I love very much because they come from rather, as I say, B40 and also in academic wise, marginalized. We tend to think they are not well versed in academic, but you can see now how well they did with the COVID constraints. Yeah. To all the various people who have helped, the press and everyone who even attended to make this forum a success. Last but not least, the COVID pandemic did cause havoc, did try to stop us, but being human and being able to collaborate, we beat it. Yeah. So I say we can, and we can move forward towards green. Thank you so much, everyone, and God bless you.
Thank you, VC, for that wonderful speech. So we are coming to a close, but before we leave, let's have everybody's camera on so that we could take a group picture. This is for the social media as well. Okay, so the tech team, let me know. Okay.
Just a quick one from me.
All right.
Please, to the Forever Sabah team, the LEAP team, and the UCSF team who work hard behind the scenes, can you lambai? There were a lot of people who worked very hard behind the scenes. So UCSF, Forever Sabah, LEAP, show yourselves. Thank you so much for all the hard work.
Congratulations, yes.
Thank you. All right. So Jan, could you let us know if if we're taking a picture now or?
Yeah, we do 1 sec.
Oh, okay, Kenneth.
Yes. Okay, Jan, you want to lead it?
Jan, you're muted.
No, his computer froze.
Oh.
So I'll go forth.
Okay.
Jari, I can still see you, so don't worry. All right. So we do 3, 2, 1, and then after 1 we pose as much as you know whatever is, and we do it twice. Okay. So here we go. 3, 2, 1, pose. Okay, and another one is go 3, 2, 1, and pose, everyone. Okay, thank you all, and great job on all the presentations. And for all the panelists, if you do want the presentations, do just email us. We can give you the link to see the presentations, and no problem. And thank you again for all the students for this hardworking